Alright, we gotta have a real conversation about the New York Knicks because depending on the night, they look like a 50-win contender. And then the next night, they look like a team that's just existing. So the question is simple with the Knicks. Are they actually mid, or are they a dangerous team that nobody wants to admit is dangerous? First off, let's not lie. There are games where the Knicks offense just looks like, alright Jalen, go save us. Whether that's a ISO, a high screen, a reset, the clock running down, a Brunson bailout jumper. And look, it works a lot, but when it doesn't, it looks very rough for the Knicks. The ball sticks, the movement dies, and suddenly they look predictable. That's why people call them mediocre. Not because they're bad, but because they don't always flow. And in the East, where teams like the Celtics move the ball like it's on a string, stagnant offense really stands out. Here's the problem though, even when they look mid, they're still winning. They're a top tier team in the East. They're still in every playoff conversation. That's not accidental, that's not luck, y'all. That's because they have something most mid teams don't have, a closer. Now look, let's talk about Jalen Brunson's consistency because I feel like we've normalized how ridiculous this dude is. Jalen Brunson can give you 25 a night, elite footwork, a post game at like 6'1", clutch buckets every single time, leadership, and he rarely turns the ball over. And he does this every night, not sometimes, not when he's hot, every night. I mean, when we talk about Jalen Brunson, we're talking about one of the most consistent guards in basketball. You know what you're getting with him. There's no guessing. There's no, is he locked in tonight? He's locked in by default. And the craziest part, he doesn't even rely on athleticism. He's cooking off angles, strength, balance, and IQ. That ages very well, and it travels into the playoffs. That's why the Knicks can look shaky for 3 quarters, and then Brunson just closes the door. That's not mediocre. That's contender behavior. Now look, let's talk about the most misunderstood piece on the Knicks, Karl-Anthony Towns, and he gets treated like he's just empty calories for a workout. But do you guys realize what he's done for this team structurally? Bro is a 7-footer who shoots like a wing, he forces bigs out the paint, he opens up driving lanes for Brunson, he punishes switches, and he could give you 30 without dominating the ball. And look, we already know the Knicks have Bad Bunny. And look, the problem isn't talent, the problem is perception. If Cat has a quiet 18 and 10, people say he disappeared. But if another star does that, solid night. When Cat spaces the floor, Brunson's life gets so much easier. And look, when Cat pulls the opposing center out, Robinson has a free runway for offensive boards. He warps the spacing. That doesn't always show up in the highlights, but it definitely shows up in the playoff math. And when he's locked in defensively, the Knicks become huge. Not just tall, huge. Now look, here's the real sleeper for the Knicks, Mitchell Robinson, and he's the real X factor for this team. Look, Robinson, he doesn't score, he doesn't dribble, he doesn't create, but he changes games. Offensive rebounds, elite. Rim protection, elite. Extra possessions, automatic. You know what wins playoff games? Second chances. You know what demoralizes teams? When you play 20 seconds of great defense, force a miss, and Robinson grabs it anyway. That drains the life out of teams. And defensively, when he's on the floor, guys think twice about attacking the paint. He's not loud, he's not flashy, but he's the backbone. And people don't value backbones until they're gone. Now look, why are the Knicks contenders even when they don't look dominant? That is a question a lot of us are asking right now. First of all, because the East is weak as hell. And second off, because they check off the playoff boxes. They got a half-court scorer in Brunson, they have a floor-spacing big in Cat, they have an elite offensive rebounder in Mitchell Robinson, they have a physical identity, they have a coaching structure, and they're reliable in clutch time. They may not be the prettiest team, yes, they may not be the flashiest offense, but in a 7-game series, you have to score on Robinson. You have to guard Brunson for 40 minutes. You have to deal with Cat stretching your defense. That is so exhausting, and exhaustion wins series. So look, here's when the doubt is fair. They don't always dominate weaker teams. Sometimes the Knicks play down, sometimes the offense stalls, sometimes Cat fades into the background. That's what separates contender from favorite. But contender, yes, because when the Knicks lock in, they look like the problem. So are the Knicks mediocre, or are they just not flashy enough for the internet? Mediocre teams don't have closers. Mediocre teams don't control the glass. Mediocre teams don't sit comfortably near the top of the East. The Knicks aren't perfect, but they're dangerous. And if they get hot at the right time, nobody's calling them mid anymore. But if y'all enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. I'm not SGA, but call me Mr. Consistent. And until later, I'll see you on Mars. Peace.
You telling me you falling out of love with me? trying to love you better than I did. Taking our memories on love and treating it like nothing. Taking our memories on love and treating it like gossip. It's my love for my grandmother make me gentle when I care for you. Tell me you're falling out of love, breaking my heart in two.